My brother is calling me a thief, standing in the middle of our mom's kitchen, 3 weeks after we buried her, pointing at me and using that word out loud, thief. And the thing is, I'm the one who handled every single thing when she was dying. I'm the one who slept on that pull-out couch for 4 months. I'm the one who knew what she actually wanted. So yeah, maybe I made a call he didn't authorize. But a thief? Am I really the problem here? Okay, back up. My name is Diane. My brother is Marcus. Our mom, her name was Ruth, passed away about 2 months ago after a long fight with a heart condition that had been slowly taking pieces of her for years. She was 68. She was sharp until the very end, which honestly made it harder, not easier, because she knew exactly what was happening to her. Marcus lives across the country, works in tech, does well for himself, has a whole life out there. He flew in a few times, spent maybe 3 weeks total at mom's side over the course of her last year. I'm not saying that to twist the knife, I genuinely understood. He had a kid, a demanding job, a mortgage. Life doesn't pause. But I was there, every week. I'd drive 40 minutes each way after work, bring her groceries, sit with her while she did her breathing exercises, argue with her about taking her medication. I was there the night she had the bad episode in February. I was there the morning she couldn't get out of bed on her own for the first time. And I was there when she told me about Layla. Layla was Marcus's ex-wife. They were married for 6 years, divorced 2 years ago, not a messy split exactly, but not a clean one either. No kids, Marcus was the one who ended it. Mom always liked Layla, like genuinely adored her, called her on birthdays, kept a photo of the two of them on the bookshelf even after the divorce, which Marcus found irritating every time he visited. Mom's estate wasn't large. The house, a modest savings account, and a small investment portfolio she'd built up carefully over decades. Her will divided it 3 ways, a third to me, a third to Marcus, and a third to a cousin who'd helped her years ago and meant a lot to her. Standard, clean, written up properly. But there was a separate account. An older one from before the will was drafted, a joint savings account she'd set up years ago with the intention of giving it specifically to Marcus when she passed. It had about $40,000 in it, not part of the estate, not touched by the will, just hers to direct however she wanted. About 6 weeks before she died, Mom had one of her clearer afternoons. We were sitting at her kitchen table going through some paperwork, nothing dramatic, just organizing, and she looked at me and said, out of nowhere, I want to change what happens to the Marcus account. I asked her what she meant. She said she'd been thinking about Layla, that she felt guilty about how things ended for her, that Layla had put years into this family, had helped her personally during a hard period right after Dad died, and that Marcus ending the marriage had left Layla in a rough spot financially. She said, he'll be fine. He doesn't need it the way she might. I told her if she wanted to change anything, we should call her lawyer. She waved me off. She said she was tired of lawyers, tired of paperwork, tired of everything feeling official and cold. She said, you know what I want. I trust you to do it. And I said, okay. I probably should have pushed harder on the lawyer thing. I know that, but she was exhausted. She'd been fighting for so long, and I believed her. I believed that was genuinely what she wanted. She died 5 weeks later. The estate went through probate the normal way. The will was executed without issue. But that separate account, the one that bypassed the will, it transferred to me as the designated handler. And I made the call Mom had asked me to make. I contacted Layla. I explained what Mom had told me, and I transferred the $40,000 to her. I didn't tell Marcus first. I told myself I was honoring Mom's wishes, and I believe that's true. But I knew that Marcus would fight it if I brought him in beforehand, and I didn't want to have that argument while we were both still raw from the funeral. So I just did it. He found out 3 weeks later when he was going through Mom's accounts and noticed the transfer. He called me immediately. Not a text, a call, which told me everything about his temperature. You gave my inheritance to my ex-wife, he said, $40,000 without asking me. I told him it wasn't his inheritance. It was Mom's money, and Mom told me what she wanted done with it. She told you verbally, he said. There's no document, there's no witness. There is nothing but your word. And that landed, because he wasn't wrong about that part. I told him I wasn't making it up. I told him Mom loved Layla. I told him she felt responsible. That is not your decision to make, he said, and then he called me a thief. Not in the heat of the moment, he said it slow and flat, which was somehow worse. Here's what I keep coming back to. I had the legal authority to direct that account. That's just true. It was set up in a way that gave me that control as the handler. What I did was not illegal. I've checked twice. But Marcus isn't wrong that there's no paper trail proving mom asked me to do this. It's my word, that's it. And I understand, I genuinely do, how that looks from the outside. A sister who resented being the one left behind to do the hard work, who knew about a separate account, who made a unilateral $40,000 decision and informed nobody until it was done. I can see the story he's telling himself, and parts of it are uncomfortable to sit with. Our cousin, the one who got the third of the estate, she reached out after Marcus vented to her. She was careful about it, diplomatic, but she said, Diane, even if everything you're saying is true, you have to understand why he can't just take your word for it. And that's the thing, isn't it? I do understand. I just also believe, completely and without any doubt, that I was doing what my mother asked me to do in one of the last real conversations we had. Layla, for her part, offered to return the money when Marcus contacted her directly. He told her to keep it, which surprised me. I think he didn't want to make this about Layla. He wanted to make it about me, about what I did without him. A few weeks later, he sent me a message. Not a long one. It said, I don't know if you're lying or if you really believe what you're saying. Either way, I don't think I can talk to you right now. And that's where we are. I honored my mother's last real request to me. I believe that down to my core. And I also made a decision worth $40,000 that affected my brother, without his knowledge, without documentation, and without giving him any chance to push back before it was already done. I told myself I was protecting the process from noise. Maybe I was, or maybe I knew he'd say no and I just didn't want to hear it. Mom trusted me to handle things. She always did. I was always the one who handled things. And maybe that's exactly the problem. Maybe I handled this one the same way I handled everything else, like I was the only person in the room whose judgment counted. So honestly, am I the problem here? Was I carrying out a dying woman's wish, or did I just decide I knew best and move the money before anyone could stop me? I genuinely don't know anymore. And I think that's the part that actually keeps me up at night. Honestly, though, what would you have done? Comment below.